Hi, I am Luis. In the year 1934, a book appeared under the title Unity of Science. It contained a translation of a Rudolf Carnap's article published in German in 1931. The article is called Psychologie in physikalischer Sprache, and the title in English is rather different, and it's called Physics as a Universal Language. It contains also two introductions, one made by the translator of the article, Max Black, and another by Rudolf Carnap himself. Well, this book is one of the first introductions that are made of the Vienna Circle into the English-speaking community. So I thought that although I want to review this article in German, well, I couldn't pass the opportunity to review the introduction made by Carnap, which is rather short. So let's start. So in this introduction, Carnap tries to present the conception of the Vienna Circle to the public in order for them to better understand the contents of the main article, the main paper that is translated in this book. And well, the leitmotif of this introduction is that the Vienna Circle is not a philosophical school because it rejects metaphysics, metaphysical questions in general. Their task is more like the philosophical analysis, and this, according to Carnap, excludes the classical problems of philosophy like metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. Now, here we must distinguish the philosophical problems in areas like ethics or epistemology from the sociological and psychological studies concerning, for example, the origin of knowledge and the actions and judgments of humankind, which are empirical subjects, according to Carnap, which can be studied by the Vienna Circle program. So Carnap literally says that their field of investigation is logic, and that either as pure logic, and that means questions related to the construction of a combined logical and mathematical system with the help of symbolic logic. That's a literal quote. Or as applied logic, and here's where Carnap extends a little bit more, because he talks about the logical analysis of terms, statements, and theories of different sciences, scientific disciplines. So he gives examples of that. For example, in physics, the Vienna Circle program would be interested in problems like causality, induction, probability, and determinism. In biology, the problems of vitalism. In psychology, the body-mind problem. And common to all sciences, there is a particular problem, which is the problem of verification. And this problem of verification can't be understood, and I am going to quote here, not as a question concerning the essence of truth, or the metaphysical basis for the validity of true statements, but as a question concerning the logical inferential relations between statements in general and so-called protocol or observation statements. So here is something that reflects very well the spirit of the beginnings of the Vienna Circle, because the concept of truth was regarded as potentially metaphysical. So this is why they prefer to see the problem of verification not as resting upon a definition of a potentially metaphysical concept of truth, but as a way to connect the sentences of science with observation statements. Now, Carnap considers that philosophical statements can be also given such treatment, and that treatment would spot the absence of a relation of most or all perhaps philosophical statements to protocol statements.
By the way,
Protocol statements are a special kind of empirical statements expressing directly observable phenomena. Nevertheless, the characteristics of such statements, like their logical form, was a matter of debate in the Vienna Circle. So, for Carnap and the Vienna Circle, philosophy is mainly nonsense in a logical sense of the word, because although there are concepts that are logically nonsense, they can make sense psychologically. Now, finally, Carnap presents some kind of comparison between the Vienna Circle program and empiricism, positivism, and materialism. In the case of empiricism, he points out that logical analysis shows that every statement is either empirically verifiable or self-contradictory, and I must add also tautological. This classification of statements is important insofar there are statements that need the empirical input in order to be held as truth or as false. In the case of positivism, we have in common the rejection of metaphysics and the attempt to reduce scientific statements to statements about empirical observations. Finally, Carnap finds some similarities between Otto Neurath's physicalism and the philosophy of materialism, insofar as both programs try to translate the language of science into a physical language. And well, I am not sure that this is part of the materialist program, but in any case, Carnap excludes from both materialism and positivism some metaphysical ideas that these philosophies have about the nature of the world. So what Carnap tries to advocate is some kind of methodological materialism and a methodological positivism, which he regards as perfectly compatible among themselves and also with the program of the Vienna Circle. So that will be all for this introduction. Thanks.